So guys, I came across a story this morning. College football updated. National championship odds have been released for the 2022 season. I'm just going to react to these team by team. The new odds are out and tell you who I'm betting on, who I like, who I don't like, things like that. But I think this is like 10 teams total with the best odds to win the national championship in 2022. So to start it off, it's Michigan. Michigan was plus 6,000. That's been bet down to plus 5,000. I would, strongly recommend against betting on Michigan to win the national title in 2022. Normally with a situation like this, Michigan has a large fan base. It's just a lot of their fans betting on their team. That's why it would get bet down. But it is still plus 5,000. Would I say this is good value? No. Because personally, you may say, ooh, plus 5,000, Michigan beat Ohio State last year, but there's zero chance Michigan is making the playoff. That's just my opinion. So any bet towards Michigan being national champions is a waste of money. So Michigan, in my opinion, 0% chance. I would stay away from betting them. That's obviously not a big take, right? I mean, they're plus 5,000, but just Michigan fans having fun throwing $100 on it. I've got nothing against that. It's whatever. And next we've got Texas, who kind of a similar situation, although there's a little bit more hype around their program. They went from plus 5,000 to plus 4,000. You've got Quinn Ewers, you've got Bijan Robinson, you've got Xavier Worthy. If I was a Texas fan, I would be hoping the next step is maybe a New Year's Six Bowl. Texas never appeared in a New Year's Six Bowl. The idea that they're going to make the college football playoff and win it with Alabama on your schedule, that's extremely far-fetched. This is another team. Let's be honest. We can do it with college football. They have a 0% chance of winning the national title. I mean, if you're a fan of Texas, you want to have fun, you're rich, throw some money on them. But as a strategy, there's no point to betting on Texas. It's not going to happen. Again, if you're a Texas fan, the hope is get into a New Year's Six Bowl, see some growth under Quinn Ewers, because Quinn Ewers is going to be a junior. You've got him for 2 years, and then he's off to the NFL, and then you transition into Arch Manning. So a lot of hype around this program. They've got a big support base, big fan base. We're seeing some bets going on to them. Notre Dame goes from plus 5,000 to plus 4,000. So if you guys don't know the whole deal, the whole story with Notre Dame, they have an extremely hard schedule. They have a 0% chance of making the playoff. Right now, with the 4-team playoff format, Notre Dame has zero margin for error. It would be shocking under any circumstances if Notre Dame loses a single game and still gets into the playoff, because they don't have that extra data point of having the conference championship game. They've got a last game of the regular season is at USC. First game of the regular season is at Ohio State. In the middle of the season, they have a home game versus Clemson. It's not going to happen for them. They're going to lose week one, number one. But with Notre Dame, if you're a fan, throw some money on them, but I'm giving them a 0% chance to win the national title. Next, we've got Oklahoma. Now, this is a very interesting team. People are starting to realize, they're looking at the Big 12, they're buying into Brett Venables, they're looking at Oklahoma. They were plus 5,000. That's been bet down to plus 3,500. So that's a big move. And Dylan Gabriel, the transfer from UCF, really good quarterback, little bit of a question mark with the injury, but you expect him to come back healthy. He hasn't played in a while, we'll see. But Brett Venables, better defense. Oklahoma becoming a little bit of a trendy team. Personally, guys, I don't see it with Oklahoma. They're 0-4 in the playoff era. We've got Brett Venables. There's way too many, question marks at play for Oklahoma, for me to pick Oklahoma as a dark horse national title contender. I don't see it. I understand people are kind of getting optimistic. They look at the Big 12. It's wide open. I understand it. But Oklahoma, I would say 0% chance to win the national title. Next, we have USC. They were plus 2,500. That's been bet down to plus 2,000. So very talented team with Caleb Williams. I would say they're a year away. I would say next year when Caleb Williams is a junior, really in the system, that would be the year when they're probably going to have top 4 or top 5 odds to win the national title. It's a little bit too early for them. They have an extremely tough midseason game at Utah. If you guys don't know, that'll be their toughest game of the Pac-12 schedule. And when it comes to winning the national championship, I don't think they have enough talent on the defensive side of the ball. They do have Jordan Addison, the transfer. They've also gotten a few other transfer receivers. They've basically completely remade their roster through the portal with Lincoln Riley coming over, so it'll be interesting. But, I would say maybe a 1% chance to win the national title just due to the high-end offensive talent. But I would even say lower than 1%. Not 0, but it's basically nothing. I would not bet on them, even plus 2,000. You could say it's a good value play, but guys, if they're not going to win it, it's a horrible value play if you don't think they're going to win it because you're just losing money. So there's no reason to bet on them. Next, we have Texas A&M. They've trended upwards. They were plus 3,000. Now they're plus 2,000. I think college football fans are a little fooled by Texas A&M because they signed the greatest recruiting class in history in 2022. The thing that people have to realize, these kids are going to be true freshmen. It takes, for most kids, a year or two in college to adjust and actually become really good players. Even the 5 stars, it takes time to adjust. There's also major question marks at the quarterback position. Texas A&M also goes to Alabama. They go to Tuscaloosa, and the feud with Jimbo and Saban. Saban's going to get revenge. Alabama, I think, is 16-point favorites in that game right now in the early season line. So yeah, Texas A&M, 0% chance to win the national title. I think they're this high because there's a lot of hype around the recruiting class they signed, but in reality, that will be seen in the coming years, not this year. Some of the kids will play as true freshmen, but they're not going to have a ridiculous impact on the field. Next, we have Clemson, who is trending down. They were plus 900. Now they're plus 1,200. It makes complete sense to me. It's due to the quarterback situation with DJ Uiagalelei. He was really bad last year. They did sign the number 1 overall quarterback in the class of 2022. It'll be interesting to see what kind of a leash Dabo Swinney has on Uiagalelei, and if he decides to go to the true freshman. We saw a similar situation with Clemson when Trevor Lawrence was a true freshman with Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant gets benched like 3 games into the season. Trevor Lawrence comes in, they win the national title. I'm not saying that's going to happen again. The reason you're seeing Clemson being ranked so high is because they have a ridiculous defense. They've got about 4 5-star defensive players that are going to be juniors, and they're all really good. We'll see if they can stay healthy. That was their main issue. When it comes to them winning a national title, I think you have to put it at above 1% just due to their defense. The quarterback issue is the biggest problem, but you also have to factor in a very easy conference, the ACC. It's a very easy conference. The only team you have to worry about is NC State, and NC State travels to Clemson, so Clemson gets them at home. Also, I don't think they face Miami during the regular season. Clemson now, I don't think they do. So it would really only be NC State. Don't know what their non-conference looks like, but off the top of my head, I don't believe they face any challenging teams. Of course, they always face South Carolina, but with Clemson, I wouldn't recommend betting on them. There's just too much of a question mark at the quarterback position. It's not worth it. Even plus 1,200 in my opinion. Next, we have Georgia. So they stay at plus 350. And I strongly recommend and I strongly advise, do not bet on Georgia. Guys, if there's a prop bet out there of Georgia not making the playoff, I would take it. I am not high on Georgia at all. You really think Stetson Bennett is going to win back-to-back national titles, guys? Get real. It's not happening. Nothing against Georgia. They've got a great program. Congrats. They won last year. People underestimate how hard it is to go back-to-back as champions in any sport, and it's simply not going to happen with Georgia. I will guarantee it. I don't think Georgia makes the playoffs. They certainly won't win the national title. Certainly. They're going to lose one time during the regular season. Then they're going to lose to Alabama in the SEC championship. That's 2 losses. They're out. In my opinion, Stetson Bennett ain't winning back-to-back national titles. Kirby Smart ain't winning back-to-back national titles. They're replacing a slew of defensive players. I know they recruit really well, but this is like horrible odds, horrible value. I wouldn't bet on them plus 1,000, let alone plus 350 to win the national title. Next, we've got Ohio State. They were plus 500, now they're plus 350. Guys, I have a live $2,000 bet plus 450 on Ohio State to win the national title. I think they win it this year, and I'll tell you why. I'm not this big Ohio State fan either. I'll tell you why. This is totally non-biased. College football goes in cycles, and this is Ryan Day's year, right? We saw Kirby Smart break through last year. Ryan Day's been to the playoff twice. This is his year. Returning quarterback, who's the favorite for the Heisman. Returning superstar running back. Returning superstar receiver, best receiver in the country, JSN. A slew of talented other skill position players. Marvin Harrison Jr., Julian Fleming. A defense that's extremely talented, ready to break through with a new veteran defensive coordinator who just had an unbelievable year at Oklahoma State in Jim Knowles. This is a perfect situation. Ohio State is the best bet, the best value bet, even plus 350. They are due. They're overdue for a national title. They should have two at least at this point since the start of the college football playoff era. They only have one. I think they get their second one. This is not biased. I'm being legitimate. Ohio State plus 350. It's all aligning. The stars are aligning. I can predict college football because you see how everything goes. It all goes in cycles. Ohio State, they're the best bet. And then you've got Alabama, was plus 200. Now they're plus 190. So, not a lot of great value there. Understandable on why. They return the best defender in college football. They return the best quarterback in college football who just won the Heisman. They do have some question marks at receiver, but they got transfer portal guys. They got a really good transfer portal running back. They got a really good transfer portal cornerback. If it's not Ohio State, these are not hot takes. I understand that. If it's not Ohio State, I think it will be Alabama. And that's, because Alabama also, they made the national title last year, but they didn't win it. It's so hard to go back-to-back. Bama could also be due for a title, but I think this is Ohio State's year personally. I just wanted to go through some of the updated odds, guys, but that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter.